What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another Nintendo Switch 10 games you should buy now before they are super rare. And I want to say this episode is definitely dedicated, or this volume I should say, is dedicated to all of you guys and your suggestions. Now, there are a few games that I wanted to throw in there, but a lot of these games I did pull from the last one. So if you want me to check out some games, make sure you drop a comment below about what games you feel will be rare down the line. And of course, write your reasons why there, and maybe it will show up in a future video. So thank you guys so much for all of it, and I do appreciate the enthusiasm for the series. Before we get into all of the next batch of games, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. And remember guys, this is just me looking at some of the prices and the history of the games and kind of deducing whether it's going to be rare or it's already rare at this point with some of the prices. So keep that in mind. Now, getting into the first game here, we're going to start off with another classic, Catherine Full Body on the Nintendo Switch. This game was originally on the PlayStation 4 and ended up coming over to Nintendo Switch, and thankfully you can still get it for a really good price, because I do believe that this game down the line will be nowhere to be found and also expensive, because that's kind of how a lot of Atlas games end up. So you find Atlas games showing up on this quite a bit. So it's $29.99 right now at this point on Amazon, and if you want a premium edition, that goes for about $150. So maybe you want to kind of up your investment just a little bit more. And also the Metacritic score for this is an 80, so it is a solid game as well. And essentially what this game is, it's a really weird love triangle game where you're basically going through your worst nightmares in puzzle form and cubes and sheep and all sorts of weird stuff. And then you also have sections where you're talking with these various different women that the main character is involved with. So it's a very interesting game, and it's a very weird game, but it's also a very good game. So you might want to check this out, whether you want to play the game or collect it in the future. Now, next up is Danganronpa, and I probably said that name wrong, but I think that there's a lot of right about this game, because on Amazon right now, it's $59.97. It's got a good Metacritic score at 83, and it's a very high quality collection of games. And you guys know how I feel about collections when it comes to potentially being rare. I think that collections are so good, especially if the ports to Nintendo Switch are done well, because it just ups the value because you get more games with it. Now in this collection, you get 1, 2, and V3, and it's a crazy type of class killing game essentially, and really the only way to survive through all of it is to correctly identify the killer during a class trial, with the last one standing win. So it's like a interactive visual novel, voice acting, all sorts of weird type of game, puzzles and stuff like that, where you're discussing things. I've watched quite a bit of it and I find it very interesting to watch. Not necessarily my type of game, but I can see why people would gravitate towards this, and this is absolutely the type of game that you'd want to be able to play any way that you want. Maybe you're on a plane or something like that. You don't want to play some type of intensive action game. You want to just play something where you have a good story and you're kind of using your brain. I think that Danganronpa is very good on the Nintendo Switch, and once again, you get all of that plus all the illustrations, scenes, voice dialogue, summer camp stuff. It's like a whole anniversary thing packed into this, so I highly recommend this Danganronpa collection. Now, next up is a game that I'm very excited to talk about, which I haven't discussed here yet, and that is Hades on the Nintendo Switch. It's affordable. It's $29.88. It's got a phenomenal Metacritic score, the best score out of all the games that we're going to talk about, and rightfully so, because the game is absolutely incredible with that 93. It really is good. I've beat the game multiple times. I bought it on the PlayStation 5. I also bought it on the Nintendo Switch. I have the physical, I have the digital. I think that Hades is one of those games. It's like one of those roguelite or rogue games where like when you die you go all the way back, but this one just hits a bit different. It just hits a bit different, and that it just plays so smooth and has so many different options, and it's just the way that it does it. I don't like rogue games, but this one I do like, and the reason why I think that it could be a bit rare down the line is because it's one of those indie titles. It's a really good game and it's sold good physically, but it came out a bit later. There are some little goodies with the physical edition of the game, so I just feel down the line that this is probably going to fade out because I don't know how many of these that they made, and it's a super high quality game. So I do think that Hades is a game to keep your eye out on, and also it's very cheap, plus it's also a very good game. Now next up are some super weird games, and I think you guys have kind of seen the memes on this one, or if you haven't, you're gonna find out. And it's called Deadly Premonition 1+2. So on Amazon, you can get the first game for $29.79, and you can get the second game for $42 even. Now the Metacritic score on this one, Deadly Premonition Origins, the first game, that has a 70, so not so bad. But the second game has a 56, and these games are known for just being absolutely weird and awkward and running terribly on the Nintendo Switch, especially the second game. That game is just like, man, it makes No More Heroes look like, you know, Super Smash Brothers with how it runs sometimes, right? So in this genre-bending fun, through Deadly Premonition is a horror game. It's best known for its oftentimes unintentional comedy. It's an expansive open world featuring an enormous cast of NPCs that you can talk and do stuff. And the reason why I think that this game will be rare down the line is because of its meme status. It's because of its weirdness and because of probably its terrible sales as well. I don't think these games did very well, and I don't think they're going to be printing a lot of them. And I think in the future, it could become one of those things where people talk about, like in a video, about how terrible this game is or kind of how cult hit this type of game is, and it ends up blowing up in popularity or blowing up in price down the line. Because if you base it off of what people say about some of these games, it should be way lower, but it's still kind of hanging in there, especially with the second game. So I do think down the line that Deadly Premonition 1 and 2 could be rare down the line, and they're two separate games, guys. So one of them is one game, then the other one's the next game. It's not in a bundle or anything like that. Now next up is a really cool strategy RPG that I like quite a bit, and it's called Languishing 1 and 2, and this one is a bit pricey. Now it comes in a collection, and if you want an Amazon EU copy worldwide, it's going to cost you $66.62. And if you want a US copy of the game, it's going to cost you $105 on Amazon. Now loose copies on eBay are going for about $70 plus. If you have the special edition of the game, that goes for $400 pretty much plus. So yeah, it's definitely pricey on there. The Metacritic is good, 76 on there, good solid titles. You get two of these legendary tales, been brought back to life, single package, new localization, and a new character, have been remade, high definition visuals, orchestrated music, tons of quality of life improvements to the gameplay and user experience. So if you want to just pick up this game to play it, or if you want to pick it up to collect it, this could be a good pickup as well. And I do like Languishing. I think it's a solid RPG for anyone to go out there and play, and of course collect as well. Now next up on the list is Labyrinth of Reckoning, Coven of Dusk. Now this is an affordable title at this point, and it's another NIS title, so you guys know how these NIS games kind of go up. It's got a 75 on Metacritic, it's $36.99 on Amazon. You can get it prime shipped, and everything is good there. It's a fast-paced dungeon crawler type of game where you have to go into these dungeons and you have these strange creatures and you have to set traps. You have to keep on going deeper and deeper into the maze. You got an army and you can crush your foes with various different special skills. Huge, massive size, miasma-filled labyrinths. It's pretty crazy. It's a pretty crazy type of game. And the reason why I think that this one could also be rare down the line is, once again, NIS games have that thing to them, and these kind of the smaller end RPGs we've seen over and over, some of these blow up in popularity and also blow up in terms of the price of the game, especially as we get further and further from the release date. And once again, that's the reason why we're talking about some of these preemptively. Not all of these games are going to be $100 or $70. I want to kind of get some of these, nip it out first, so you guys can go say, okay, let's see what this game is going to be about, and pick it up when it's cheaper. So then year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year down the line, when people start collecting more for the Switch, or when the next Switch successor comes out, a lot of these games will be a lot more expensive. So that's what we're doing here, and I think that Labyrinth of Reckoning could be one of those games. Now next up are some games that I actually like quite a bit, or at least the first one, and that is Ninokuni 1 and also Ninokuni 2. Both of these games, they're a bit weird, right? Ninokuni 1 plays a lot different from Ninokuni 2. A lot of people do like Ninokuni 1 a lot more than Ninokuni 2, but on eBay right now, you can get it for fairly decent prices. I couldn't find anything on Amazon for Ninokuni 1, but for Ninokuni on eBay, it's about $25 for a new copy. So you don't want to pick that up now, since you can't find any on Amazon. I'm guessing Bandai Namco didn't make many of these. Now Ninokuni 2 is about $30 or so For loose copies, you might be able to find it for new on eBay for around that price or a bit higher, but I highly suggest picking up both of these because you can get both of these games new essentially or like new on eBay for probably around 60 bucks or so. So that's not bad because I don't think these games are going to be around, and they're solid games. They're both good games. They're not bad ports. Ninokuni 2 might be a little bit of a better port than Ninokuni 1 because Ninokuni 1's not the remastered version that the PlayStation 4 got. It's kind of more of a direct port of the PlayStation 3 version of the game, but it's still, be it that, it's still a solid game and a very good story, great graphics and everything. So I would definitely check out Ninokuni 1 and 2. Get it now while it's cheap because I think in the future it's not going to be so cheap. Now, next up is Disgaea 6 Defiance of Destiny. And the Disgaea games in general, I mean, I could go over all the Disgaea games because there's a lot to go over and some of the prices have been going up quite a bit, so you guys can check that out. But I did want to focus on the most recent Disgaea game because there is a huge discount on that game right now on Amazon. It's $29.99. The Metacritic is a 73, so some people maybe feel it's not as good as the previous ones, but it's still a solid game and it's $29.99 there. So I don't think that it'd be a bad game to pick up. I don't know exactly how well the sales did for it, and these Disgaea games often kind of just go out of print sometimes and the prices can go up. So if you start with Disgaea 6 and you can kind of work your way down depending on if you want to continue collecting these type of games or not. Now, Disgaea hasn't always been my cup of tea with everything. I do think it's a solid game. It's a solid strategy RPG. I think just sometimes it's a bit too crazy with all the biggest numbers and popping up and all the dudes and the pretties going all over the place and everything like that. I'm not a huge fan of that type of strategy RPG, but a lot of people do like it. And with Disgaea 6, they have the 3D graphics in there. They have a lot of content. It's still a solid game at the end of the day. So if you want to collect this style with Disgaea and everything, this might be a great place to start. But the other Disgaea games are worth collecting as well on the Nintendo Switch. Alright, last but definitely not least, Wargroove, another game that a lot of you guys actually suggested in my previous video. And right now, this is a little bit of an interesting game because Wargroove, for a European copy of the game, this is an indie title that didn't get a lot of copies printed. Clearly, they don't have the type of money like that, and the game isn't going to sell like that. It was more of a digital type of experience. But if you want a Euro copy, you can get it for $29.89. If you want a US copy of the game, they go for around $35.18. And what makes this game interesting is that it has a really vibrant cast of 12 plus characters. They have their own distinct personalities and motivations, almost like Advance Wars, which this game is kind of based on. It's a little bit of a mix of Advance Wars and Fire Emblem in there. Now, this has all sorts of customization options. You have local, online multiplayer, you have a map making mode, you can do all sorts of customization, competitive, cooperative, online, co-op play, has all of that, and it's a solid experience. It has a good Metacritic score, good average on there and everything, so I do recommend the game. But once again, it is a bit weird finding copies for this. And that's the reason why I think that it could be rare going forward in the future, because these copies are hard to come by because you can't see it on Amazon very easily, and on eBay it's just kind of weird with some of the pricings with it. So this could definitely be a game in the future that does become a bit more rare. And once again, it's an indie title, so a lot of these indie games that do get these physical editions, they pay for the minimum. You know, they don't pay for a million cards or something like that. They pay for the minimum that they can get and see if they sell through them, and then see if they're going to put in another order, if they're just going to keep on selling the game digitally and go through that way. So I do think that it might be good to pick up one of the best indie titles on the Nintendo Switch physical while it's still somewhat decent in price. So what are your thoughts on all the different games that we covered here? And of course, what games would you like to see me cover in the future in a video? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we'll see you for the next video. Peace.